there. Hi. We have been talking about the yamas and the niyamas, and we are studying satya, which is truthfulness. Um, as part of truthfulness, we all have a need to belong, belonging in a group like our group that we have together for our classes, or your family unit, or circles of friends that you have. And part of being in a group is in part of that is we need to have kind of the approval of the group for ourselves. We need to be able to feel that we're following the rules of the group. And once we step beyond this, because there's something else that we need to do in our lives, or something we don't agree with, or a way that we need to express ourselves differently, we actually have a small feeling of guilt around this at times. Um, and that's because the rules of the group actually have to be followed in order for the group to function perfectly. So the truth of the truth of our personal freedom for expressing ourselves often comes with the price of guilt, because we feel guilty. And you can think about something that when you were growing up, your parents told you that you should never do or whatnot. And you eventually go ahead and start doing it in the world because you know that that's right for you. And yet you feel guilt because you were told that the group doesn't believe in it. Um, And yet, if we stick with the rules of the group, it can become too great of a struggle for us because we are always sacrificing some of who we are. We can always be sacrificing some of who we are in order to gain the approval of this group. Um, the thing is that in all areas of our life, Satya rarely rarely seems to ask of us an easier choice in life. It's always asking us to do something harder if we're going to be fully honest and and present our truth in the world. Um, and oftentimes it becomes too hard for us to do this because it feels like the price of admission, the price that we have to pay to be truthful, to be present, to be honest, is just too great of a cost. And so a lot of times we can spend our whole lives or large parts of our lives trying to to hold ourselves back, hold our truth back, rather than take that hard step of presenting who we are to the world. Now, in some ways, this is why I've never been much of a joiner. Like, I've been a lot more of a solitary person. I mean, I always had friends, but in terms of groups, this is why I've never done very well in groups, and it can even be hard for me in terms of whenever I have regular employment. I never fit into the rules of the group well because I will always speak the truth where I see it. I make myself do it. I sometimes literally shake in my shoes to do it, but I do it, and that doesn't go well with the group because I'm not following the rules. And specifically, I'm thinking about being a public school teacher, because when I do that, the work is good. The work I'm doing in the world for the kids is good. But in terms of participating in that system, speaking my truth and acting upon it is always against the grain of the group. And that makes it really hard for me to do. Um, Another aspect of truthfulness that I really love is trying to um, trying to focus our lives on living in such a way that we're always being current and present with what's going on, so that the truth that we speak, the actions that we take, in all of the things that we do, we get these right the first time so that we don't have to then backpedal and fix our mistakes because we haven't lived the way we should or haven't lived authentically. And at the same time, not just we don't want to have to fix our mistakes. We don't want to have to apologize to someone because we said it wrong to them or we said what we didn't mean. We want to do it right the first time so that it's settled in the earth and that we're not constantly having to check back in and correct ourselves, but that our truth is in part so that the truth we speak really is our truth. Sometimes we blurt things out thinking that's the truth and it's not. Um, Oh, and another one is how much time do we spend in our lives avoiding things that we don't like to do or that we don't want to do. We always try to live in our likes in life and we always try to avoid our dislikes. But the truth of life is we have to spend a lot of time doing things that we don't like. We have to step into the things that we don't like in order to be where the other good things are and coming through that. And as we avoid the darker truths of life, we make it harder on ourselves. We kind of go down into this spiral of avoidance and we get caught into avoiding our dislikes. And our lives would have so much more freedom in them if we embraced these darker areas or the things that we avoid, if we embrace them more and took care of those types of things as well when we need to, because the shadows are always the flip side of the light. And we need to be willing to take the risk to tell ourselves the truth and grow ourselves into someone who can trust themselves so we can bear trust so that others can have trust in us. Um, and I copied that straight down because I like that because a lot of times we tell ourselves um, untruths about ourselves, things we don't want to be honest with how we're feeling about a situation. We don't want to be honest with ourselves about what we're doing to ourselves and to our lives or to our loved ones. And and when we can confront ourselves with the truths of life's going around it, it makes us more congruent in our existence so that others can then feel safe around us. Um, Now, having studied ahimsa, nonviolence, truthfulness and nonviolence go together hand in hand because while we need to be able to speak our truth, we need to be able to embrace ahimsa so that we're doing it in a nonviolent way so that our truth does not become our weapon. And a perfect example of that is even though I've been saying the term speaking our truth, a lot of times when somebody in a group or whatnot says, well, I have to speak my truth. Oftentimes it's something really mean and really harsh that doesn't need to be said or doesn't need to be said with such venom. They're taking the truth for them as they're perceiving it, and they're just like slicing away at other people by speaking their truth. And trying to keep that ahimsa in line with us so that we're trying to be nonviolent, that naturally helps hold back that truthfulness from being harmful. Um, so on top of this, in terms of truth, we've seen this recently a lot with our elections. Okay, this is like um, I'm having a jumble in my brain because I've been reading also the Bhagavad Gita all day, and a lot of what I've been reading is just coming back to this over and over. So I kind of am really excited about it right now. And it's kind of hard for me to keep the conversation short. um, so whatever we believe in our lives, whether we're aware of it being a belief or not, that informs all the choices we make in life and everything that we do. So there's a bold person of truth is always looking for different views of how they see the world so that they can be exposed to different influences. And by being exposed to different views, we see a broader picture of the world. Okay. So when we hold our thoughts and our beliefs very, 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 very small, okay, we then cannot see the truth of what's going around in the bigger world. So the perfect example that I can come up with are people who go into a church that's supposedly a Christian church that's actually spreading hatred and violence with their words. And if those people just hold on to that because, well, it's from the church, so the church can't be lying, that's going to be where their narrow range is. Whereas if you're willing to step out of those things and study what the Buddhists teach and what the Muslims teach and start studying everything else and start studying older, more traditional Christianity, looking to the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, then you start seeing that in all these religions, there's a different view in the world. So one of the important things to examine in our lives in terms of truth, and I love this quote, it's from Yogi Raj, what are you not seeing because of what you're seeing? So if we're focused on one thing, we're missing so much more around us. And I sometimes say that in class in a different way. I'll say, notice what you notice, or pay attention to what you're paying attention to. So taking that just a little step further, what are you not seeing because of what you're seeing? In terms of truth, we just need to constantly update our beliefs, values, and views to stay current with ourselves and our surroundings. Because if we can keep those updated, then we can be more honest and direct in how we're speaking to others. So the practice for this week to try is to pay attention and go slow enough that you do it right the first time. Make this the week where you don't have to backtrack to apologize or correct mistakes, and where you don't run from any hard tasks that present themselves. Face each moment head on with clarity and courage. This is a really great practice. I love it. Anytime this one comes up, I think it's really good for me to like step back and try to slow down everything and do it right. So I'm going to have fun embracing this one. So on that, now's the time for yoga. So if you want to lie down on your mats, we'll get started. I'm just going to ask you if you would please start off by lying long. And then just do a soma scan to get current in your body. Starting up at the head and sliding down through the neck and the back of the shoulders, through the torso, down to the lower back, through the hips, legs, and down to the feet. Just noticing what's going on in the body, how you're laying there. Trying to connect with the truth of your body. Notice what you notice. Pay attention to what you pay attention to. What are you not seeing because of what you're seeing? So we're going to start off working with that umbrella breath, where we inhale from the very bottom of the belly, like our hand is sliding up the handle of the umbrella, feeling that inhalation expand into the lower rib cage, nice and wide, and then lifting up the whole rib cage before releasing. And with that in mind, I'm going to ask you now to just completely exhale. I want you to actually push your body to try to get every little bit of breath out that you can possibly squeeze out, and pause there for a moment, and then deliberately start drawing in a nice, full, very, very deep breath, that umbrella breath sliding up through the torso, going wide at the ribs, floating those collarbones up, and slowly releasing from that. Just breathing with this nice, long, slow inhalation and exhalation. Check in and see if you can possibly make that exhalation longer than the inhalation. Remembering that sometimes it can help find this by not inhaling quite so far, or better yet, taking a pause at the top of that inhalation before exhaling. So I'm going to ask you to try to remember to return to this umbrella breath throughout the practice, whenever you're lying long. Whenever I ask you to focus on the breath for a moment, always check in and see if this is what you're doing. And then if you would please, 1 foot at a time, put the soles of your feet onto the mat. An easy resting pose. Feet are hip width apart. The soles feel balanced in their weight between the heels and the balls of the feet. That little space behind the knees, the back of the calves and the thighs are barely touching there. The knees aren't dropping in, nor are they falling apart. Perfect, easy resting pose. And from here, if you would please, let's begin that slow, gentle arching and flattening motion. Really paying attention in our body. To what we need today, which may be different than the last time we did this practice. Rolling the hips forward and down towards the floor below. Allowing that tailbone to come down towards the earth and that arch to radiate up the spine. And then gently allowing that to release. And then rolling the hips in the opposite direction. So the bum comes up off the floor. And the back goes flat on the earth below. And if you're ready, go ahead and add the shoulders in so that the shoulders float up when you flatten. And the shoulders then press down behind as you go into the arch. Now you can stay in this space working with the back, or you can lace your fingers together, bringing the palms of the hands behind your head so the elbows are pointing out to the left and to the right. And I'm going to ask you to begin working on that gentle arch and curl. Now, you can do it the way we always do, by just gently pressing through the head and the tailbone and lifting up into a small sit-up, just curling the front of the body. Or you can try to go a bit deeper in this today. And if you'd like to take it a little bit deeper, what I'm going to ask you to do is to, as you arch, do a nice, long, slow, deep inhalation. Really feeling that expand the rib cage. And then as you lift your head, allow those elbows to continue to come on up towards each other, towards the center. And as you're exhaling, you draw the back of the belly button, the belly down towards the floor behind. And then slowly release from that. And as you go back in towards that arch, begin with the inhalation again. I'm just going to ask you to do a few of these, pairing these together in the body. Remembering to draw the elbows together as you curl up with the belly button drawing down towards the earth below. Exhaling and then inhaling back on the arch. And then if you would please, just release the arms, allow the legs to grow long. And pause, sense in your body what's happening. And regroup. Try to remember any changes that you notice in your body. from this work you've done so far. Coming back up into easy resting pose. We're going to do some knee drops. And remember, as that knee drops out, that opposite hip needs to stay down on the ground. We don't want it to lift up off the ground. If it starts to lift up, you're going too far. Remember, very slowly going part of the way down at first, and then coming back up. I'm going to ask you to alternate the knees. And it gets to the point also that it's too much work to bring it up. That's a good sign that you reached a limit. And then when you complete the set that you're on, just step your feet out to the edge of your mat, or just an inch or two, depending on what your mat is like, so that the feet are on the outsides of the hips in terms of width. And then go ahead and do a few knee drops right from here. Still alternating legs on the outside. You're going to notice that that changes everything in your body and how you move in your range of motion. You might feel more quivering here in the body. And then from here, we're going to drop the knees internally towards the other knee. First, dropping the right knee in towards the left. Don't push the leg any further than it wants to go. And then doing the opposite leg. Then hug your knees to your chest and roll your back up. Again, let your legs grow long and pause and sense any shifts that you may notice in your hips. All right, so hopefully you have a little rolled up towel nearby or a little blanket that you can use for your spinal strip if you've got all your props there. Or actually you may have a spinal strip. So I want to show you where we're working in the body with this. instead of our myofascial balls today, this is what we're going to work with instead. We're going to take that strip and we're going to place it, you're going to move around here. So right there, that's the lower part of my shoulder blade right there. So we're going to place that strip underneath your shoulder blades as we lie down on it. Now, if you find it sensitive, if it's a rolled up towel, unroll it until you find that perfect sensation where it's not too much for you, but you're at your edge. Like anything more, that would be too much. So that's the spot that you want to have. So I'm going to let you play with that for a moment. And then we're just going to allow ourselves to slip into that space. Now, this is a kind of a dramatic shift when you come out of it. So when I ask you to remove the spinal strip, it'll be, I want you to really pause and sense and notice the differences. So again, placing that right underneath those shoulder blades. And then the hands can be wherever you want. I usually like mine kind of laying above with the hands on the rib cage. And just release and relax. Allow yourself to practice that long umbrella breath. Noticing how that strip is sitting underneath where you breathe into the whitest spot of the rib cage. In this space, this is where the trapezius and the psoas connect, and this is where the diaphragm lives. So this will be a great opportunity for you to gain awareness of this space. And if it becomes too much, please feel free to remove that strip. We've only got about 15 seconds left here. And then just push through your feet into a small bridge pose and pull that out for a moment. Allow your legs to grow long. Notice how your body feels. This is usually a rather dramatic sensation at first. All right. So lying here long still, we're going to work on our breath we've done before called intercostal breath. If that wasn't too much for you to be lying on that strip for that long, I'm going to invite you then to go ahead and get back on the strip in the exact same spot. But if you had enough before, that's fine. Or maybe if you're using a towel, you want to unroll it a little bit more, make it a little bit gentler. But I also want you to be aware of where those ribs come back up, like the top shape, like an upside down heart. There's a little bone that comes down from the sternum there called the xiphoid process. And right in that area, right below that, that's where part of we were having that awareness when we were breathing. Right under there is the part that we will eventually, when I ask you to exhale from under the rib cage, that's where I want you to press down into the body. And it's about right there in the chest, underneath the chest. So when you lie long here, if you're able to, I would invite you to bring your arms so they're lying on the ground over your head, like I'm doing here. Now, if you can't lift your arms that long, that's perfectly fine. Just bring them out wherever you can that you're comfortable in. Overhead, just kind of pulls the ribs further apart just by having them stretch slightly. So I'm going to ask you to start thinking of that umbrella breath that we've been doing. And inhale, having it really engage with the belly and come up wide through that rib cage into the upper part of the ribs. And then exhaling with this umbrella breath. Nice and deep. Really trying to expand the space between the ribs as you inhale. Now, the space between the ribs are actually tiny little muscles called the intercostals. This is what we're working with right now to give them some more movement, a little more loving attention. And the next time you inhale and get that rib cage expanded, I'm going to ask you to hold that rib cage out. So as you exhale, I want you to exhale like you did at the beginning when we exhaled everything. And I want you to focus on trying to push down into the belly, but also right underneath that rib cage, really trying to push through that space in the center of the torso as we exhale, holding the ribs open. And then as we inhale, even feeling that expansion of the intercostals more. Exhaling, leaving that rib cage expanded, really pushing all the air out of our bodies. Just do a couple of more of these on your own. All right, let's release from this. If you have the strip under your body, go ahead and remove it. Lie long again. Pay attention to what your body's telling you, how your body is shifted. And then we're going to do a spinal twist. So be gentle on your body, rolling over and grabbing a bolster or a pillow, trying not to jar yourselves. So we've done this recently with a twist in the spine, and I gave you options of just dropping your legs over or possibly picking them up and bringing them over and using a pillow between the legs or under, or both. And that's perfectly fine to do it that way. If you would like to have a little bit more sensation in your body, then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and cross the right leg over the left leg to begin with, and see how that feels in this position. And then I'd like you to at least try dropping that left leg towards the right, so you're getting that twist in the spine, and then propping underneath that leg. Now, again, if that's too intense, and your soles of your feet are going to roll off, if that's too intense, bring those legs back upright and uncross them, and then let yourself drop the legs. All right? So again, if you'd like to try, cross that right leg over the left leg. And then allow that body to roll over towards the right side. You'll notice it's a little more intense of a twist because of the weight of the leg, which is why if it's too much sensation for you, please, please, please do it the other more gentle way. Now we're approaching the last 30 seconds. If your body is asking to come out of it, please just honor that. Bring the legs up, go into yin resting pose, or let your legs grow nice and long. Allow those legs to relax and release. Let's explore this now on the other side of our body. This time crossing that left leg over that right leg. Always remembering that we may not have the same experience on each side of the body. So if it was too much before, it may be fine now. Or this one may be more intense, and so you need to do it with both the feet starting on the ground instead of having a leg crossed over. But with that leg crossed over, the left leg over the right leg, if that's not too much, allow your legs to drop and twist and settle into this. Or approach that twist more gently without the legs crossed. With only 15 seconds left, tend to your body the way it needs to be, coming out if you need. And let's just bring those legs back upright, hugging our knees to our chest. Rolling that back out. Allowing the legs to grow long, giving ourselves a moment to rest and digest. So now bringing the feet back up into easy resting pose. We're first going to pay attention to the arm. So if you need to look at me, feel free. But I want you to check out with that left arm if you can bring that arm straight overhead on the ground. So that it's lying on the ground, but long and tall. Now, if that's too much sensation, I really want you to back that arm down and keep coming down. It might actually be better for you to start straight out and slowly draw the arm up, but find that place where you can do it with comfort and ease and stay there, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to once again remember that experience we just had, and you will know right now whether or not your body wants you to go ahead and cross the leg. Because if you're going to cross the leg, that's fine. We're going to do twists. We're not going to hold it so long. We're going to move slowly in and out. And if that's too much sensation, we're going to have our feet a little closer together, like how we start with doing windshield wipers. And in that position with the feet together and the knees touching, we can twist our bodies over, right? So either cross the right leg over the left leg or have the feet together, but allow those legs to drop slowly and with control over to the right, just as far as is comfortable. And once they're in that position, I want you to stretch that left arm like you're reaching for something off of a shelf, just as far as it'll go. Ooh, big adjustment right there, sorry. And then slowly release that arm and slowly roll the legs back upright out of that twist. Take a nice full breath. And then once again, allow those knees to slowly, with control, to drop over towards the right to that perfect amount. And take that left arm like you're trying to reach something above you. Stretching, drawing it out, lengthening that left arm. And then slowly release from that lengthening in the arm. And slowly lift those legs back upright. And again, allowing those knees to slowly, slowly roll over into a twist. Allowing that arm to stretch and reach overhead. And then releasing the arm, relaxing the muscles slowly, allowing those legs to float back up. And then bring those arm long down towards the side. Uncross the legs. Let the legs grow long. And check in with the body. Now, crossing the legs to do all of this work is really a much, much higher load. And I'm trusting that all of you have been doing this work long enough that you listen to what your body is telling you and not just doing it because you think you should. But what just happened to me, and what often happens when doing that work, since we don't do it very often in our body, sometimes it'll be for me, I'll have significant hip adjustments, like it'll pop like a chiropractor. It's just put something back in place because I'm not often doing that to myself. So just be aware that that can happen. All right. Bringing those feet back on the ground with the knees in the air, back in constructive resting pose. Setting your body up just so. Doing a small bridge to allow those hips to float up and then come back down so they feel wide open and spacious. This time, let's allow that right arm to slowly glide along the mat out towards the right, rolling over, palm opening up to the sky above as we bring that arm up just as high as we can up towards our ear, finding that perfect place where you know that if you go any further, it will be too much. And this time, either with the left leg crossed over the right leg or with the feet together, dropping over. Allow the knees to drop towards the left slowly and with control. And then allow that right arm to extend further. Like we're stretching up to reach that apple at the top of the tree. And then allow the muscles of the arm to relax from that extension. And then slowly lift those legs back upright. So the knees are back up in the air. Take a breath. Allow the knees to drop towards the left slowly and with control. And allow that right arm to extend up high. Pausing here. And releasing that extension. Relaxing the shoulder. Drawing those knees back upright. And one more time. Knees drop towards the left. Hands stretches, extending up overhead further. Pausing in the stretch and extension. And allowing it to relax, release. The knees slowly come back up. An arm glides back around, releasing. Legs uncross. Knees get hugged into the chest. Back rolls out. Bringing the feet onto the floor. I'm going to ask you to slide the right leg long. Left knee is in the air, foot is on the mat. And then press through the sole of the foot and the right heel, lifting that left hip up and allowing yourself to roll over onto your side here. Pause there just for a moment. Taking a breath. And then use your hands to push yourself back upright into a seated position. All right. So we've been working with the Kali Mudra. Kali being the goddess of fearlessness, inner strength, and empowerment. Let's bring our hands together with our fingers interlaced and extend our index fingers. We can work forward from in front of the solar plexus, or we can point the hands upright, whichever we prefer. We're going to sit here quietly for 2 minutes. And you can repeat to yourself in whichever way you prefer. Sat Nam, which means my name is truth. So either Sat Nam or my name is truth. And then releasing the hands, I'd ask you to please find your way down onto the mat for our final relaxation. And you can do this with your legs lying nice and long or propped up on a blanket, maybe a pillow under the head, a blanket over the body. But you might want to also do this in easy resting pose with the knees up in the air, because it's such a good practice for the body and the mind. And we'll give you a little energy for the rest of the evening as well. So being all tucked in, just feel your physical body begin to relax. Become aware of your skin touching the floor around you. Allow your bones to be heavy on the mat. And let your muscles soften around them. Thank those bones and skin and muscles for getting you this far. Surrender into the undoing. Surrender to gravity and to the need to hold on. Surrender everything. Honoring the ability to honor yourself in this moment. Allowing just your breath to be as it is. As you become aware and present in this moment, allow yourself to embrace this journey of wholeness. Give yourself permission to just be in this moment, to let go. Now take a moment to survey your body, adjusting it to make it as comfortable as possible. And gently inhale and release. Allowing your body to soften and relax into the mat. Nothing to do, nowhere to breathe, to be. Bring gentle awareness to your breath. Feeling your abdomen rising and falling with each inhalation and exhalation. Notice the texture of the breath as you inhale deeply and release fully. Allow yourself to feel the subtle dynamic of density and weightlessness. Listen to the truth of your body, what it's needing, what it's asking of you. Melt like a puddle into the earth beneath you. Skin softening away from muscle, muscle softening away from bone. Just allow yourself to dissolve. Feel the support of Mother Earth holding you, providing everything you need in this moment. Trusting that the inhalation and the exhalation will happen as they need. There's no need to effort in the balance of giving and receiving breath. Experience the body as an effortless breath, leaving behind the thoughts and worries we may have. Relax with each breath in and each breath out, feeling the support of the earth below. And with if you would please just begin to wiggle the toes and the fingers. And hug the knees to the chest and roll the back out. And as you release the legs, allow that left leg to grow long and the right foot to come down onto the mat with the right knee in the air. And pressing through the right foot and that left heel. Lift that right hip up, rolling the hips and the pelvis towards the left. And then bringing that left knee so it's bent as well. And stay curled up here on your left side, please. The head resting on the arm. Relaxing in this position for a bit. Lying curled up on the side of the body. And then gently pushing yourself back up from the floor here, I'd ask you to come back into a seated position so that your bum is propped up, or maybe even moving up onto a chair. And sit for 2 more minutes in meditation, working on the loving kindness meditation, the metta meditation. So we'll start off with me repeating it 3 times, allowing my words to be your words. And then you continuing to repeat it silently to yourself. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. All right. May all beings find happiness. May all be free of disease. May all see what is auspicious. And may no one suffer. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. And may you be a source of healing for all beings. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thanks for practicing with me today.